Hello everybody, Brad Johnson here, and in this video I'm going to be channeling Adronis as we're going to be doing the top 5 questions for January. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and start out with the first question, and Adronis is going to come through and provide insight on each of these questions through this top 5 video. Alright, so question number 1. Since we are creating ourselves anew each moment, could we not just create ourselves younger and healthier in each new moment? We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. As it relates to the first question, since you are creating yourselves each and every single moment that you exist, would it not be wise to bring yourself into that young, rejuvenating, healthy experience within those moments? This is exactly what we've been telling all of you to do. This is how you are able to reverse your age. This is how you are able to bring yourself into more alignments of vitality. This is how you are able to bring yourselves into more higher capacities of memory. This is how you are able to access much more of the cosmos. This is how you are able to explore yourself more fundamentally, thoroughly, is when you exist as you are in this moment eternally, at every particular moment, at every frame that passes you by through the instance of causality. You are capable of reproducing yourself, refining yourself, rejuvenating yourself in every moment. Well, Adronis, how exactly do we do that? By becoming the vibration of what you know rejuvenation to be. So, if you feel that you want to bring yourself into that higher alignment, it does not serve you to continuously be in a state of personalized conflict or collective conflict, what is happening in the collective consciousness, and feeling that you are basically conflicting yourself to the point where you no longer feel that harmony. This is the whole idea. The reason why many of you take yourselves out of that situation is because you have allowed yourself to become inbred with the idea of feeling that you are inferior, that you are separate, that you do not deserve perfect health, that you do not deserve perfect embodiment, that you are this and that and the other thing, that you are truly fallible. And so, as long as you continue to give energetic credence to those understandings, you will not be able to rejuvenate yourself in this moment, to heal yourself in this moment, to make yourself feel younger and well nurtured in this moment. It is when you start to feel that energy at every moment that you exist, through every frame that is coming together, billions and trillions of times per second, and feeling that energy and allowing yourself to go to work from within and discover what is preventing yourself from feeling that health, that personal rejuvenation. And working with that emotion, working with those emotions, working with those sensations, and bringing them into the light by accepting them. That is the key. And that is how you're able to continue to recreate, reformat yourself, reproduce yourself into that loving, healthy, rejuvenated being. That is how it is done. But you cannot do that if you're still feeling personalized conflict, if you're still in conflict with something. It's all just about being in conflict with yourself. This is again what we have stated. There is nobody else here. There's only you. When you are angry with anybody, with your mother, with your father, with your brother, with your sister, with your child, with your partner, with a stranger on the street, with a president of the United States, with an emperor, with a country, etc., etc., etc. You're pointing your fingers out, but it's all just coming back to you. Something is unsettling to yourself, and you want to look into what that represents. You want to discover exactly what that emotion is telling you for it to become embraced. Do not feel that you are here to solve everybody else's problems. You're not. You're here to work with yourself. You're here to make your beautiful world come to pass. But in order for there to be a beautiful world, you must discover where your world is in chaos, where it is hectic, where it is frantic, where it is conflict. That is how you're able to address this nature and come into yourself and realize, my goodness, this beautiful world has been within me this whole time. It's right in front of my face. And so as long as I'm able to do that, and I work with myself, and I develop myself, and I now start to realize that I emanate this health, now my beautiful earth is here. And now you are presenting that to the collective world as an example. We are not saying that it is impossible for you to show any kind of emotion. No, it's the idea that you are aligning with those emotions. You're making those emotions aware. And they are teaching you. They are being your teacher. They are facilitating the aspect for you to change yourself. Not to feel that you're spotting out emotions in other people and saying, oh, you're jealous, you're angry, you need to do this and you need to do that, and I won't stop badgering you until you do it. You're no better off than the idea of someone who is doing that to you and badgering you and ridiculing you and judging you. Let go of the feeling that you need to change everything with the idea of control. Work on yourself. Work on your own world. Work into your own beauty. And that is how you refine yourself. That is how you make yourself younger. By being the vibration of that youth. By being the vibration of that health. By being the vibration of that splendor. That's how it's done. It's not the idea of saying, well, when this happens, then I'll go ahead and I'll move into that mood. No, you're doing it backwards. When I am in this mood, this state, everything therefore corresponds to that state. That is the circumstance principle. And that is what allows you to align. So this is what we say, is that if you truly wish to become healthy, then become the healthy vibration. That is the key in every moment that you exist. We thank you. As it relates to sending healing, would it be wise to send loving intentions to groups or situations to assist in uplifting consciousness? We thank you very much for your response. Now understand that when you are assisting situations, when you are assisting groups, you are working together with a collective mind or a collective principle in that particular way. Now understand that, yes, every particular aspect of that love can bring about great change. But the whole idea is that you're not just sitting on your couch sending love to a country in that way. It's when you actually get together with so many others that are working together in that aspect that it's not even a really directed field towards any particular country or particular situation. It's that you're all generating this particular field of love together in unification, in solidity, like a grid. And when you actually have that beautiful aspect of energy flowing through each of you, like this diamond reflective grid, now you're actually able to send that energy out towards many different faculties, towards many different aspects to what is happening upon the planet, and being able to shower that energy upon the planet. So what can be done en masse has a much more higher effect than what you feel you're just doing by yourself. So this is where we recommend that many of you get together. That even if it's one state for another state or one province for another province, but there is synchronization from the many, you are creating this love blanket. And you're now placing it upon areas of the planet that may require it. It's the idea that you're attempting to bring build-up. Now, the whole idea in that sense is if one person is feeling that, for example, I'm going to send love to Afghanistan because there's a lot of suffering people over there, that one person that is bringing love to Afghanistan, even though that is commendable. That is not enough equivalent exchange strength to reverse the aspect of what's happening there. So basically thinking in that sense that if you are seeing a very large pit of tar and you're dropping your one drop of inspiration of love, that's not really going to have too much of an effect. It is the idea that you're working together. It's all about the aspect of equivalent exchange. We're not suggesting that you don't do that. You certainly can if you wish. But it's more so in the idea that en masse, this is what's going to have much more of an effect. If you're seeing a very large pit of tar that represents conflict and chaos, you can't expect to wash away that tar with one drop of water. You require an ocean. You require a wave of consciousness to sweep over that tar and being able to entrench it with that degree of love. This is done through en masse concentration, through en masse meditation, through en masse focus. That is really what brings about that change. So if you feel that you yourself want to send love, feel free to do so. Now, this conduit has also spoken about the idea of working with individuals. So again, that still applies. But if you feel that this is situational, collective-based, the aspect of being able to harmonize with a collective is being able to see the equivalence of energies necessary to make a shift. That's how it's done. So rather than just putting dewdrops on a very large, in that sense, collective form of trauma, bring forward more people, encourage more people, share yourself with more people, become the example of that energy, and you will start to align in situations where you may find, oh my goodness, there is an en masse meditation for this country, or for this group, or for this situation. And now all of that energy can start to be built up in the foundation of its geometry and now directed into one or many areas on the planet simultaneously based upon the collective intent. That is how you truly make a difference altogether. So again, that would be our recommendation if you're looking to assist in group capacity. We thank you regarding another particular group. Or again, disclosure on a certain degree of levels. Yes. Question number 3. Will President Trump be the disclosure president? Of a disclosure president that brings about first contact? No. But basically there will be certain disclosures being brought forward through him, as there's now just starting to move into that aspect where he is going to be revealing certain things, such as new technologies that have been locked up for quite some time, that will now start to be, in that sense, introduced to certain forms of, shall we say, foundations that will actually be able to receive some of these particular patents. In fact, this is happening right now. You can understand that much of your anti-gravitational technology is being worked on right now, primarily within areas of what you would know as Russia and India and China. You would also understand that there are, in that sense, healing technologies that are also being worked together within these European and Asian outlets. But again, they are, shall we say, much more in the idea of group focus or foundational focus, to being able to see how it can be reproduced. So the idea is that certain things have now become unlocked. And these particular forms of technologies are now being looked at and are now being scrutinized. And when there is, in that sense, a patented effect to where this can be, in that sense, massively distributed, there will be what you would know as common companies that may be able to start placing these particular forms of technologies forward. One of these particular examples of technologies can be brought forward into the companies that you would know has been owned by what you would know as Elon Musk. And so being able to look more so into the idea about what he is attempting to bring forward in the next couple of years is giving you the indication about what is being revealed. But there will also be other, shall we say, grassroots companies that will start to merge themselves and bring themselves into higher conditions to where these new technologies are coming together. There are zero-point energy systems in the works right now too. We will say that as well. This will eventually start to become, shall we say, purchasable through other particular patents and again, small companies that are starting to bring themselves forward. But again, looking more so into your Eastern countries would be more of the ones who are working together with these patents, which means that these particular technologies have been discreetly delivered to them and they are saying, work to mass produce this. work to make this happen. And when the time is right, it will be rolled out when all the green lights are there. So we would say that President Trump is working to bring about these innovations of technology. You will notice that there will be more improvements as it relates to space travel as well too. And again, more of these, shall we say, different forms of sophisticated instruments to operate within space. And that this is taking, shall we say, not all, but some of the degrees to what is available within your secret space program. Again, through what you would know as healing facilities, to what you would know again as advanced technologies pertaining to satellites, or pertaining to the idea again of standard living through energy production in that way, that is now starting to roll itself out. Anti-gravitational levitation technology that will eventually be rolling itself out as well too. But again, there are, shall we say, stipulations to these technologies to not feel that this is something that is a quantum leap in regards to your technological aspect. It is still basically creating a drip that is now just slowly elevating itself into a convenience of technology that will be coming forward. So we would say that he will help to bring in more of those realizations of technology, and basically that your own United States will become one of these primers as it relates to the idea in that sense of fresh new technology being developed by the United States. And so these particular aspects of opportunistic patents can in that sense come forward into the West, should there be in that sense appropriate stipulations met, to therefore begin to experiment on some of them in that way. So he will certainly help in that way. There may also be the opportunity of him talking more about the idea of, shall we say, common craft or sightings, or in that sense disclosures that have happened through the revealing of different documents and dossiers that have been in that sense declassified. So again, those may be, shall we say, certain potentials to which he will discuss. But again, in regards to the idea of realizing that we are not alone in the universe, it is highly unlikely any president is actually responsible for that. It will be more so in the idea, again, we would say, more so related to a worldwide stage. If we were to put it in the idea of writing, look more towards your United Nations, not so much the idea of your local presidents or prime ministers, etc. We thank you very much. Can Adronis talk more about stasis bodies and how the process takes place with an entity disembodying themselves and incarnating onto the earth plane? We thank you very much for your question. As it relates to stasis bodies, or beings that volunteer themselves to be put in stasis, we have stated that these particular beings are volunteers, which means they have received the call to be invited to the earth because much of their energetic represents a certain quality, a certain pathway, as it were, as it relates to the flow of the collective consciousness of the planet in question, in this way, Earth. So what they will do is they will often go on board a very large spacecraft, like a frigate or a mothership in that particular way. And that this particular spacecraft will contain certain forms of pods, stasis pods, where the entity will be able to go inside the pod and basically occupy what's known as a type of fluidic chamber. This fluidic chamber really is no more different than what you would know as a type of amniotic fluid. This amniotic fluid in that sense now becomes encased within what you would know as a stasis field. That is basically what you would know as occupying a particular void. So basically you could say that the body in question is now locked beyond the idea of space and time. So it is now contained within this temporal stasis aspect, not affected by the space-time continuum. As that happens, there is technology that exists within the stasis pod that is actually utilizing certain forms of frequencies. These frequencies are encouraging the idea of disembodiment. You could also state that this is actually allowing the body to go into a severe state of comatose condition. As this severe comatose state happens, the idea of the body, therefore, goes into this state of type of arrest, but not something that is jeopardizing the body, as the idea of the amniotic fluid is actually taking care of its own well-being in that way. The spirit is therefore disembodied, as the body is now moved into a very deep comatose state. Through that comatose state, the spirit therefore travels into the grid of the particular planetary system, again in this example, that which represents Earth. It will now magnetize itself to the grid of the planetary matrix. Therefore, it will therefore receive instructions as it relates to the particular incarnation process through soul contract that it has administered through itself. This will therefore begin the incarnation process on the planet. Now, there are again a wide majority of beings on your planet that have, in that sense, stasis bodies, simply because they were living other incarnations simultaneously as this call was happening, which means that these particular types of stasis volunteers could be very similar to what you would know as a particular agency or a particular federation, foundation in that way. So all of these volunteers are on call in that way. Once they receive a call, an invitation in that way, they will immediately volunteer themselves to put their own current life on hold. And they will actually go into these stasis pods. They will remain within this temporal state of lock as it relates to the space-time continuum nexus, and therefore disembody themselves. Some of them will function as walk-ins, some of them will have fresh births as new souls coming upon your planet, etc. But many of them in that sense are volunteers, which means they have volunteered for this. This is meaning that they are able to put whatever affairs they were going through in that particular lifetime as an extraterrestrial biological entity, and being able to, shall we say, put a pin in it, and being able to then disembody themselves, come upon the Earth grid, and function in the appropriate level of incarnation that they have signed up for. That, in a nutshell, would represent the idea of stasis beings. What is the universe attempting to tell us regarding these fake news scandals, and how do we know what to trust regarding information nowadays? We thank you very much for your question. As we have stated, it's not about trusting the external. This is more so of the universe's aspect of saying, do not believe everything you hear. Do not feel that you are putting so much energy into what you are hearing from the external grapevine. When you attract yourself to a personal state of trust, the universe, in regards to its external reality, will therefore align to those trustful natures, which means you will discover that you'll have less and less time looking into much of these, in that sense, articles and news stories on the internet, and you will be more in alignment to attracting elements that are in alignment with your own truth. Which means when you start to trust yourself, these elements, as it pertains to information, will align harmoniously with that, and you will just know through every fiber in your being that this is aligning to a certain level of trust that you are discovering within yourself because you trust yourself. So the whole aspect of these fake news in that sense is basically this shift in consciousness. This aspect in that sense of helping yourself to go more deeply within, rather than feeling that you must put so much energy into these scandals with situations that have nothing to do with you, and being able to look into greater scrutiny about how you are spending your time and how you are accessing information. And so these aspects of a fake news scandal, even though it can often be used in distortion effects for one group to basically discredit another particular group because they are attempting to hide their tracks. That is primarily what is happening, but the overall outlook of this is, in that sense, being able to go within, to look into your own truths, to do your own inner work, rather than feeling that you are basically like a small animal, constantly pumping a little lever to get food pellets, or in this way, information pellets. It's basically telling you to cut back on that and give yourself time to explore, give yourself time to investigate yourself, and look into an aspect about how you can trust yourself. And as you trust yourself, again, all of these particular corresponding magnetisms of energy will manifest themselves into physical reality, making windows of opportunity possible to helping you encourage and complement the energies that you are aligned to at this particular point, at this particular conjunction, to allow yourself to further, to develop yourself, to advance yourself, to move yourself into deeper forms of exploration. And realize I don't require these articles, these news stories. It doesn't matter really anymore. I am trusting myself. I am moving into myself. I am loving myself. I am appreciating myself. And I'm radiating that light out. Not feeling that I have to be responsible for everything else that's going on inside the collective world. Let it be what it is. Become your own example. Come together. More people that are empowering themselves and becoming this light, and start to realize that the trust has been within them the whole time. They simply had to see it. These situations will no longer manifest because you have given yourself permission to become fully trusting of yourself, because as we've talked about, it's all about being able to work with your emotions, to work with the areas that do not serve, accepting them, transcending them, and bringing yourself into positive aspects that serve you so that everything can be rebalanced. So the whole aspect, again, looking on a technical level as it pertains to these news scandals, are other particular forms of what you would know as corporatocracies or other particular beings on your planet that have lost much of their power and are basically attempting to frantically create this idea of labeling as it relates to other particular sources relating to news and information, to basically further confuse the public so that you really don't even know what's going on, and you won't know what's going on as long as you continue to focus on the external. When you go within, when you give yourself permission to trust yourself, that is the natural news. That is the natural information. You will not find liberation through your external media. That is looking at reality through a prism, looking at reality with specially colored glasses on. Let that go. Take those glasses off. Throw the prisms aside and look into reality with your own natural eyes of trusting. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again, and we now return to the conduit. We will speak to you again, as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye for now.